We have Angie Wong. She's an adjunct assistant professor of community health sciences at the University of Calgary and full-time senior consultant on Indigenous health innovation and research with Alberta's provincial healthcare system. Last year, she published her history, Laughing Back at Empire. Everyone, Angie Wong.
Thanks, Elwin. Good. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you to LiterASIAN and Alan Cho for the invitation to be here. Loud enough? Yeah. And I just want to say thank you to my mentor and many of the mentors that I've met this weekend, including Chuck, for taking me under the wing and letting me be a part of this legacy that you guys have all started and made the foundations for. So here's to you. Thanks. I'm going to read from Chapter 4, Hybridity and Resistance in Theory and Practice, Coalition Building, Silence Breaking, Turns and Returns to History. The Asianadian was an exercise and embodiment of hybridity. Even the name suggests a transmigration and reinscription of identity from beneath the unifying pressures of empire. Asianadian is not merely a blending of Asian and Canadian. It's a form of hybridity that denotes a fusion as much as it inscribes a dialectical articulation between these identity markers. Asianadian suggests neither only Asian nor only Canadian, but one and the same, yet different. The editorial collective's intention was not to flatten their difference into a Canadian sameness, but to celebrate the talents and artistry of Asian Canadians, their heritage and culture. Momo Sugiman said, "The title grew on me over the years. I realized later that the title encapsulated our hybridity over the years and the interconnectedness in a direct and unpretentious way. The blending of the two words symbolizes integration. This interpretation, then, describes a condition of language's fundamental ability to simultaneously be the same but also different. Collective, lateral, and non-hierarchical grassroots labor is essential to challenging the totality of a colonial discourse that conflates difference with sameness. The Asianadian highlighted how this sameness is riven with difference. Under the Asianadian Resource Workshop, the collective came together to work in dynamic, non-hierarchical ways to eke out misinterpretations constructed around being Asian Canadian. If it had been called the Asian Canadian, Momo continued, I would have suggested a name change. There's something about that hyphen that I find objectionable. It creates an us versus them dichotomy, as if we can never be full-fledged Canadians. Though the title was formulated based on the practicality, that is, to fill the 10 space letters that was left by the former title of the Asianadian, which used to be called Crossroads, it serendipitously captures the work of hybridity practiced by the diversity of cultural workers, artists, scholars, and activists of this period, speaking out against racism, systemic inequality, and the injustices of the state. And as the pages of the Asianadian further show, hybridity through coalition building has the potential to break barriers of silence and enable turns and returns to history, thereby renewing historical approaches to anti-Asian racism. The magazine's intersectional, intergenerational, and polyphonic forms of expression pushed against the boundaries that constructed Asian and Indigenous peoples as antithetical to and incompatible with the narrative of Canadian peace, order, and good government. Homi K. Bhabha has said how these grand narratives of 19th century historicism and textual and territorial time and space are technologies of colonial and imperialist governance. The narrative of Canada as a convivial peacekeeping state was carried out in the decades of global restructuring following the end of the Second World War. The anxious use of violence made banal through the repetitious colonial encounter is then veiled by narratives, gestures, and performances of goodness outside of the nation, moves to innocence, that reveal the incommensurable tension of settler colonialism itself. I want to reiterate more precisely the ways in which the Asianadian and the Asianadian Resource Workshop exercise hybridity through their own forms of collectivism, opening foundational pathways of inclusion against the exclusionary policies and actions that were practiced by the Canadian state through the 19th and 20th century. Though the Asianadian stopped its publication in 1985, the intersectional and intergenerational commitments of editorial members, that's evidently carried on, as demonstrated by the efforts on their behalf to share their fondest memories of working on the magazine with me. Even as Chapter 2 showed, the collective worked with individual members as well as agencies in Toronto, like Hong Fook Mental Health Services, Riverdale Immigration Women's Centre, to provide mental health, justice, and immigration resources, producing real-life changes for families in Toronto's Chinatown. This chapter is going to highlight more of the ways in which that work alongside post-colonial readings has illustrated how the collective practiced forms of cultural and literary resistance through techniques of hybridity, which work in different ways at the same time, according to cultural, economic, and political demands of specific situations. The Asianadian spoke on their own terms, established cross-cultural exchange and solidarities, made lifelong friendships that have been reignited through projects and gatherings in the recent years. Indeed, many members are still active, and they've been marching alongside First Nations and Black Lives Matter's counterparts, building dialogue with queer and two-spirit organizers through scholar strikes in Canada, and they continue to engage in cultural production and critique. Many have gone on to become educators. They publish music, art, policy papers, academic texts that echo the social justice sentiments and hybrid essence of the Asianadian. One such member is Terry Watata, who many of you know. Terry wrote a found poem, which is at the introduction of my book, and he really shaped the themes within this book. So I'll share that with you too quickly. Found poem by Terry Watata. I was lost as I wandered into an alien world full of pale creatures with blue eyes and strangely colored hair. Images flourished, blonde women in loose dresses and their arms of tall, handsome men in movies, TV shows, magazines, everything and everywhere. Words poured onto the ground before me. I was the enemy alien. I became the dirty Jap, the slant, the gook. I was beaten, thrown to the ground, kicked, spat upon. I was crippled, murdered. I am a virus. I am the Kung Flu. I am 10, 17, 27, 50. I am 80. Sadness seeped from my eyes, rolled down my cheeks, and fell to the warm earth, absorbed and crystallized below the surface, never to melt in the glowing sun. But it's all right. Drifting into the past, strains of music and mixed in and carried on clouds of psychedelic smoke colored my ears in a house back in 1972. Martin and Sean, brothers linked in Asian defiance. Through brotherhood and sisterhood, we will fight another day. I am whole, I am found, like a poem discovered on a printed page. And as Sean said an age ago, I haven't been called a chink in years. Thanks everyone. Happy Asian Heritage Month.
Angie Wong, thank you very much. Big hand for Angie Wong, everyone. I just really want to thank Angie for reading Terry's poem. I've been thinking a lot about what this event actually means for us, that we're actually making history right now because we're together, that we're trying to find an idea of what it means to be Pan-Asian within a Canadian context, to be together in a way that's different from the past even. So Angie, thank you for talking about history and bringing such a powerful poem that transcends time itself with Terry's work. So thank you very much, Angie Wong.